The Taj Mahal is one of the most beautiful buildings in the world, but its story is not just about love and marble. It is also a story about money, power, and one of history's biggest financial gambles. In the 1600s, the Mughal Empire controlled nearly 25% of all the wealth in the entire world. The ruler of this empire was a man named Shah Jahan. His wife, Mumtaz Mahal, died while giving birth to their child, and Shah Jahan was heartbroken. Instead of simply mourning, he decided to turn his grief into a monument. He ordered the construction of the Taj Mahal, a building made entirely of white marble and decorated with precious stones like jade, crystal, and turquoise. The building was designed with perfect symmetry and mathematical precision, and it would become one of the most famous structures in human history. But Shah Jahan made one very interesting choice that would have major consequences for his empire. He decided to build this incredible monument right beside the Yamuna River. Today, we call this a beautiful location because the river adds to the building's visual appeal. But from a practical, financial, and engineering point of view, it was an extremely risky and expensive decision. Building beside a river is one of the most difficult construction challenges that engineers face. Riverbanks have soft, wet, unstable soil. Rivers constantly move and shift. Water erodes the ground beneath structures. Foundations that seem solid can crack. Buildings that seem secure can sink. This is why building beside a river requires special engineering solutions and costs much more money than building on stable, dry land. Now think about the scale of the Taj Mahal. This is a massive structure made from millions of pieces of white marble, each one carefully cut and shaped. The marble had to be brought from Rajasthan, which is hundreds of miles away. It had to be transported across long distances and cut into the right shapes and sizes. All of this required thousands of workers and enormous amounts of money. Modern experts estimate that building the Taj Mahal cost approximately 32 million Mughal rupees at that time. If we convert that to today's money, we are talking about billions and billions of dollars. This was one of the largest and most expensive construction projects that had ever been attempted anywhere in the world. To pay for this massive project, Shah Jahan had to mobilize the entire Mughal Empire's resources. He brought together thousands of artisans and craftspeople from across his territories. He organized the import of marble from Rajasthan and other regions. He set up trade networks with Persia and Central Asia to get special stones and materials. He used the government's taxation system to collect money from the people of his empire. When a ruler spends this much money on one project, it affects the entire economy in serious ways. Money that could have been used for other important things like building factories, expanding trade routes, investing in agriculture, or strengthening the military was instead locked into marble and stone. This is called an opportunity cost, a fancy economics term that means you spend money on one thing, which means you cannot spend it on something else. And here is the big question that historians and economists still debate. Was this a smart decision? Was Shah Jahan being visionary and forward-thinking? Or was he being reckless and wasteful? Was he squandering the empire's wealth on a monument that did not produce anything or help the economy grow? But there was another huge problem that made this decision even more risky. What if the structure failed? What if the foundation could not support the weight of the marble building? What if the foundation collapsed into the wet riverbank soil? It would not just be a building problem. It would be a financial and political disaster for the entire empire. The emperor would be embarrassed. His power would be questioned. The empire's reputation around the world would suffer. The money spent would be completely wasted. Now here is where the story becomes really interesting. The Mughal engineers did something remarkable. Instead of refusing to build on the riverbank or trying to completely change the river, they decided to work with the river instead of against it. The engineers designed a foundation system unlike anything that had been built before. They dug hundreds of deep wells beneath where the building would stand. They filled these wells with stone and timber, which means wood. On top of this foundation system, they built the marble structure of the Taj Mahal. Now, when you first hear this, it sounds like a terrible idea. Timber, wood, underground in wet conditions. That sounds like a recipe for disaster. Everyone knows that wood rots when it is left wet. But here is where the Mughal engineers showed brilliant understanding of nature and materials. When wood is completely submerged in water all the time, it does not rot in the normal way. Instead, the wood hardens. It becomes stronger. The constant moisture actually preserves it. By using timber as part of the foundation, the engineers created something remarkable. The foundation essentially floats on the water and soil beneath it. It is not rigid like modern concrete foundations. Instead, it can move slightly. It can adapt to changes in moisture levels. It can bend rather than break. This was 17th century soil engineering at its finest. The project took over 20 years to complete. For 2 entire decades, the empire was paying thousands of workers every single day. The empire was importing materials continuously. This was like a modern government spending billions of dollars on a mega project for 20 years straight. It was a huge and continuous commitment of resources. The Taj Mahal stood firm on its engineered wells. The building was an engineering success. The marble did not crack. The foundations did not collapse. The beautiful structure remained stable as the river flowed past it for centuries. But here is the problem with spending enormous amounts of money on one project for 20 years. Other things suffer. The empire's overall financial health became weakened. After Shah Jahan finished the Taj Mahal and his reign ended, his son Aurangzeb became the next ruler of the Mughal Empire. Aurangzeb inherited a wonderful monument, but he also inherited serious financial problems. The empire's treasury had been depleted. The empire had spent so much money and resources on the Taj Mahal that there was much less money available for other important things. So Aurangzeb raised taxes on the people. He started more military campaigns, which cost even more money. He took on debt. The financial pressure increased and increased. While the buildings stood stable and strong, something else was falling apart. The empire's financial foundation was cracking. This happened slowly. It happened gradually. It was like a riverbank eroding in the rain. History does not usually collapse all at once. Instead, it erodes. It weakens. It becomes vulnerable. An empire that controlled 25% of the world's wealth began to decline. Was the Taj Mahal the direct reason the Mughal Empire fell? No, not directly. There were many other factors involved. There were wars. There were political problems. There were invasions from other powers. But the empire's decision to spend so much on one monument certainly did not help. It meant less financial flexibility. It meant fewer resources available for other problems and challenges. The Taj Mahal became a symbol of eternal love between Shah Jahan and his wife. But it also became a symbol of capital concentration risk. This means that when too much wealth is locked into one project, the entire financial system becomes weaker. Money that should be flexible, moving around the economy, creating growth and opportunity, instead sits frozen in stone and marble. Governments around the world still make the same kinds of decisions that Shah Jahan made 400 years ago. They spend billions on mega projects. Some countries build luxury skyscrapers. Some spend billions on Olympic stadiums that are only used for a few weeks. Some construct massive bridges or airports. Some of these projects succeed and generate economic benefits. But many others become burdens on the government and the people. The Taj Mahal teaches us 3 important lessons. The first lesson is that engineering innovation can protect capital. The Mughal engineers understood the problem and found a creative solution. This engineering solution protected the empire's massive investment. The building survived 400 years because the engineering was smart and well thought out. The second lesson is that prestige projects carry opportunity costs. When Shah Jahan spent 32 million rupees on the Taj Mahal, he was not spending that money on other things. Every rupee spent on marble was a rupee not spent elsewhere. Every worker building the Taj Mahal was a worker not working on something else. The third lesson is that long-term sustainability matters more than short-term glory. The Taj Mahal looks glorious and beautiful, but from a financial and economic perspective, building it did not help the empire become more stable or more prosperous. So here is the question that matters for us today. When nations pour billions into monuments, events, or mega developments, are they building stability? Or are they building legacy and glory at the cost of economic health? Liquidity is a finance term that means flexibility. It means having money available to use when you need it. When you lock billions into a stone monument, you lose liquidity. You lose flexibility. You lose options. If an emergency comes, you cannot quickly convert your marble monument into cash. An economy needs to be flexible and adaptable. Buildings can survive centuries. The Taj Mahal has stood for nearly 400 years. But economies require constant balance and movement. They need flexibility. They need money flowing around. An economy cannot be frozen in stone like a monument. The Mughal Empire learned this lesson, but perhaps too late. They built the most beautiful building in the world. But in doing so, they weakened the economic system that created it. They used up resources that could have made the empire stronger and more resilient. When we look at the Taj Mahal from far away, we see white marble and precious stones. We see perfect symmetry and beautiful design. But beneath the marble, there is something else that we cannot see. There are hundreds of wells filled with timber and stone. There is engineering that allows the building to float on the soil instead of sinking. The real foundation of the Taj Mahal is not the marble on the outside. The real foundation is the engineering underneath. It is the invisible support system that allows the visible beauty to exist. Similarly, the real foundation of any empire or nation is not what we see on the surface. The real foundation is how money flows through the economy. It is how resources are allocated and distributed. It is how the system stays flexible and balanced. When the Mughal Empire spent so much money on the Taj Mahal, the engineers succeeded in solving the structural problem. But the empire failed to solve the financial problem. They locked up too much capital in one place. They lost flexibility. They became too focused on the symbol of power rather than the substance of power. And so we return to the question we asked at the beginning. Was building the Taj Mahal a visionary investment? Or was it imperial overspending? The answer depends on how you measure success. If you measure success by what still stands, then it was brilliant. The Taj Mahal is still here. It is still beautiful. It is one of the most visited monuments in the world. Millions of people see it every year. It generates tourism money. It brings prestige to India. From a cultural and artistic perspective, it was a complete success. If you measure success by economic health and long-term prosperity, then it is more complicated. The empire spent enormous amounts on this project. The opportunity costs were very high. The financial consequences were real and significant. The Taj Mahal teaches us an important lesson. We cannot just build things because they are beautiful or because they show our power to the world. We have to think about the money. We have to think about the opportunity costs. We have to think about long-term sustainability. Governments today need this lesson. When they are tempted to spend billions on mega projects, they should ask themselves hard questions. Are we building stability for the future? Or are we building beautiful things at the cost of economic stability? Because sometimes, the most impressive monument is a healthy, flexible, sustainable economy that can take care of its people and create opportunity for the future. That is what the Taj Mahal really teaches us about money, power, and finance.